role in the postseason. What's your overall reaction or reflection on the offensive line?
Proud of the guys. Like I mentioned before, they rose to the occasion when we needed to be at our best. The last game, we didn't quite reach that summit, but I was really proud of the way those guys worked and prepared, and it was a fun ride. Disappointed in the end, but it was a fun ride.
Can we go through each one of the starters and just you talk about what you liked from each one of them, or maybe what you wanted to see improve? So I guess we'll start with Jonah. What did you think about the year he had?
Yeah, I mean, I would think it may be a little too early from that to do much detail on that. I guess my main focus really recently has been just starting the draft and then dip into the free agency. But love Jonah, smart guy. He's athletic. You know, he's got a really good inside hand, and I thought he showed some improvement in those areas, and look forward to working with him again. And Spain was Mr. Nasty, as I like to call him in our room, so I really enjoyed working with him and his approach to the game. Thought he played it the right way, being physical. Love Trey Hopkins. He's got tremendous length. He's very smart. Always got the guys on the right page. Facing some difficult schemes throughout the year as far as targeting and getting us on the right guys. He did an excellent job on that. Really had a lot of issues in that regard. Had a couple of young guys at right guard that were growing. Both guys had their own unique professional maturation, for lack of a better term, issues, but they're still growing. A lot of it was just time on task. A lot of it was missing time early in training camp, not being able to work through a lot of things. A lot of it was just, it's new. They don't come out of the college ranks. We're here ready-made. It's a learning process, regardless if you're the first pick in the draft or you're the whatever the last was. I don't even know whatever the last pick is, 200 something, 212. I don't know what it is these days. But everyone's got their learning curve. Some guys, their curve's a little bit sharper. Some guys maybe a little bit flatter, whatever that is. But encouraged by those guys. Riley Reef, loved him this year. Brought a lot of good intangibles, leadership in the room. A true pro's pro. He battled. He played through some issues with his ankle early, went as far as he could, and I really appreciate that guy. And I thought Isaiah Prince, came in and did a nice job battling. Showed a lot of good things as far as foot quickness and his ability to work on the set angles that we taught, and his hand placement. But of course, all this can get better. It always starts with me, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're starting the process this offseason.
What do you need to see from Jackson Carmen this year for him to make the jump that you wanted him to make, drafting him in the second round?
You could say the same thing about everybody. Take the next step as far as understanding the offense, understanding scheme, and then more importantly, technique. Working on fundamentals, coming in, learning a new offense, and just being coached maybe a little bit differently as far as what I'm asking him to do, what he did in college. From a technique standpoint, I think his body's matured a lot. I think he was dealing with some other issues medically that hindered him as well. So get himself healthy and stronger in the weight room is going to help him. More flexibility, more better balance is going to help him. So those things in the offseason that he's going to work on now, I know, and looking forward to working with him again.
Are you counting on him to be a starter next year?
I think that's unfair to say about anybody. I mean, I'm counting on everybody to come in and act like you're preparing to be a starter, period. So no one guy more or less than anybody else.
Did you see that from him in the preparation in the back half of that season or throughout that rookie year?
Yeah, he improved in that drastically over the course of the year. Absolutely. He matured in a variety of ways, physically, on the field, in the meeting room. Absolutely. All the rookies did.
Could he have played in the Super Bowl? Could he have played in the Super Bowl, Frank, or was his back?
Yeah, he dressed. He could have played. Absolutely.
Deontay Smith, interesting year. What did you see behind the scenes from him? Obviously, so there's kind of injuries and all that stuff. But what did you make of his rookie season?
Yeah, he had that knee injury that really kind of set him back. And then we moved him around a little bit to see what else he can do and where he could maybe add more value. I'm excited about his future. Great kid. He works hard. He's got tremendous tools to work with, and we'll see where we come out of this offseason and see where he's at.
He this guard, tackle, does he not know yet? Is he kind of can do both?
I think he can do both. Just kind of a matter of plugging him where I think he will compete best. So we'll see. I'm still kind of I have some thoughts on that. I'm not really willing to share those.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I just,
Yeah.
But I'm excited about his future.
As far as evaluating free agent linemen, what goes into that? What do you look for when you're doing that? What's that process like?
Well, scheme fit. We need guys who are athletic, who can run, who can play at the second level in the run game, guys who can bend, who can anchor in protection, guys who show they play with length, can punch, guys who obviously are smart. Those all go into it. And I know there's a myriad of other factors that go into it. I guess you can say it's out of my bailiwick, but just from what I see on tape, and then just does he fit in the room? Is he a leader? Is he a guy that's gonna, be that alpha male? Is he a guy that's gonna be more reserved? Love to have more leadership in the room. Love to have more alpha males in the room. You can't get enough of those guys. Love to have more what I call glass eaters in the room. Can never have enough of those guys. That's what this league really requires. Those are the kind of offensive linemen that we're looking for.
Coach, with young guys coming into the league compared to maybe 10 years ago,
Right.
does it take longer for the offensive linemen to adjust from college to the pros than it did maybe a decade ago, just because of what they're playing in college?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Whether that was 10 years ago or whatever, those type of numbers are always kind of arbitrary a little bit, but a lot of it has to do with what school, what system it came in, what was their system.
Yeah.
I've got my own personal views on college football these days.
Yeah. It just seems like it's 7-on-7, and then you're asking them to play in an 11-on-11 league.
Yeah, they're in a 2-point stance a lot in college football, and NFL, you're going to be in 2-point stance, but you also could be able to play out of 3-point stance. Right. And the schemes are different. And college football, you might play 2 guys that are really good, and NFL, you play everybody that's good every week. And that goes for the guys in the SEC. So I've seen guys come out of that conference that were the player of the year, offensive defense, and they came and fell flat on their face in the NFL. So you can't underestimate the jump. It's a big jump regardless of what school you're coming from, and the level of comp matters too. So small school guys have a harder time. Some guys adjust quicker for a variety of reasons. So everyone's individual. It's going to be unique to each individual, but just kind of a big broad paintbrush.
Yeah.
O-line quarterbacks are the longest and hardest to develop. There's just more stuff that's involved.
Do you think it's bigger? Do you think it's a bigger jump now than it was?
There's an argument for that it's maybe bigger or the same. It's not easier. I know that.
Yeah.
So if that's harder or the same, you can, like I said, 10 years, 12 years, 20 years.
Do you think Joe Mixon improved in his pass blocking this year?
I don't know. That's a good question for Justin Hill. That's something I don't evaluate.
What's your definition of a glass eater?
The guy that's relentless in his finish, the guy that's going to give you the last shove, the guy that wants to rip your effing face off. Football is a violent game, and I tell my room all the time, it's not for everybody. They're trying to take that out for good reason, for safety issues and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's a violent game. It's not a contact game, it's a violent game. It's not for everybody. I've got 2 older boys who chose not to play it. They didn't like it. That's fine. It's not for everybody. I got a younger son who's 10. Maybe he wants to play. He says he does. Well, we'll see. In my opinion, there's one way to play, period. So.
How do you tell, in a setting like this, how do you tell who eats glass and who doesn't?
Well, you watch tape and you talk to them and ask them questions, and when a guy's bullshitting you, right? Yeah. You've been around long enough, Hop, right?
Yeah. Some say
and then just watch the tape. I want to see it on tape. That's really, at the end of the day, it's all about the tape evaluation. I was just kind of getting the feel for personality. You know what I mean? So I want to. You want good guys off the field, but nasty guys when they step between the lines. And you got to be able to be both, right? You got to be a gentleman when you're off the field, but then on the field, it's time to turn it loose. That's how I view the world. Call me old-fashioned or what, but.
Do you see plenty of glass eaters in free agency, since we're keeping this theme? Or potential free agents?
I'm just now starting it, but I've seen a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple out there, but I'm just now starting that process. But yeah, there's a couple out there. It's a day and age, and different. It's a different breed out there. It's different. But yeah, there's guys that play hard and look to finish and all that good stuff.
Is it innate or can you teach someone?
No,
to
I
be a
think
class
I think you can pull it out of a guy that has it, but it's easier to pull a guy back than kick a guy to get him going. So it's already in a guy. You know, he's gonna kind of bring it out a little bit more if it's not already coming out. Usually it's there. It's obvious. He's got to kind of rein it in a little bit. You know.
I was gonna say, what's the biggest advantage to adding another assistant O-line coach, and how do you avoid the too many cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's so much cooks. I mean, you can always have what you call sous chefs, pastry chefs. You know, but Derek and I work together with the Jets, and he knows what I'm looking for and the things that we need to get done and help in that regards. And Ben does a nice job of the things that he does best as well. And so just add more muscle, if you will, to get the job done.
Were you looking to add another one regardless, or was it, hey, Derek's available?
I guess we were short a guy previously, so we were kind of shorthanded just overall offensively. And Zach mentioned that we might go that route and bring another guy to help you out. You have a guy in mind, and so that's kind of how that came about, you know. So
Philosophically, for an offensive line, how much more important is it? You built that 5 stars, but that's unrealistic.
Right.
Is it just more important to have 5 guys where there's no liabilities than it is to have a star? You know what I mean? Is it more important to just not have somebody who's causing one problem than it is to make sure you have a star tackle or a star, right tackle, whatever?
Yeah, I think it's impossible to not have guys with no liability. Everyone's got a liability. Everybody does. Everyone's got something you got to improve to get better on. But at the end of the day, you can just have 5 guys that play together.
Yeah.
Period. And they have to understand that. Sometimes guys who are really good don't necessarily want to do that. You just want to do it their way. I'm doing my job. It's like, well, you're hurting the 4 other guys around you. You have to play with the guys as one. That's line one. That's the most important. But you want, obviously, most talented guys as well. So it's a balancing act, right? Just like the salary cap. You wish you can have an endless amount of whatever you want to pay. Yeah. Can't do that.
Would you rather have 5 guys that play together that maybe aren't? There's no stars, $15 million stars. You just give me 5 guys that play together that maybe aren't the most ballyhooed and let's go cookie glass, right? Well, is that an ideal kind of situation almost for you?
Yeah, I think it's a little simplistic. I mean, you got to have talent. You got to be good enough, right? I mean, as we discovered, or not discovered, but we experienced, there's some good D linemen out there. You better have some talent to be able to keep up with them too. They're good. They're impressive. But I mean, you got to have a mix of both. What that mix ultimately is, it varies every year. How you put your roster together.
As the league becomes more of a passing league, what are the best physical traits that you look for when looking at good offensive linemen or guys that could portend to be good offensive linemen?
Quick feet, balance, lateral range, length, ability to punch, play with extension. Just to name a quick few.
Coach, how important is this year for guys like Common, Smith, and Hill? They often talk about year 1 to year 2. How important for these guys? Are you going to know about these guys at the end of this year?
What do you mean by knowing about
them? If they can play, if they can start, if they can help you.
Usually year 1 to 2 is they say the biggest jump in generally speaking. So I'm expecting them to have a nice big jump. A lot of that, that's a big, broad brush. Everybody's individualistic as far as what they're dealing with from an injury standpoint and all that as far as development's going to be. A lot of it's crazy. I just had this conversation with a buddy of mine from high school. He was flabbergasted that I can't go out next week on the grass with all my rookies from last year. Not allowed. Yeah. I'm literally limited on the hours you can work with a guy in OTAs. If you think about the big picture, how silly that is. It's their profession, but that's the CBA, and that's right. When I was a player, I was out there in boxing helmets so we can do drills because we couldn't wear a helmet against D linemen. Yeah. This is back in the 90s, a long time ago. Yeah. Right? But so the guys are professional now. They go places, they train and work line drills with other professional offensive linemen, which I think is fantastic to kind of pick up that piece of that missing development. But so don't know if I'm answering your question that way, but yeah, I expect a big jump and increase, and looking forward to it's the familiarity with me to them to me, into the system, drills, what we're actually better understanding what we're teaching them. You know, that now this makes sense. What we did last spring made no sense.
Right.
Now that we've gone through a year, okay, this makes sense with all the crazy limitations of drill and types of drills that you can do.
Do you think Hill can be a starting center? Can Hill, kid from Georgia, can he be think he can start at center?
Yeah, anybody can be a starter, right? It's just,
how's Hill doing? How's Hill doing?
well, I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks, but I think he's doing good.
Where he is on the field? What do you think he has to work on to maybe be the starter?
His biggest thing, I like to see him have a little more comfort running the group as far as making calls, making IDs, and it's not just the easy vanilla stuff, it's all the adjustments, all the variety of exotic fronts and pressure pickups. We get movement and safety rotation, the picture changes, and instantly you got to make a new ID in the run game, quickly get out of word, be able to process like this and go, have confidence in that. He's shown some flashes of that. He's got some physical tools. He played in the SEC, quality talent. Saw a lot of good stuff last year as far as picking up middle dot crosses in the run game and protection. Can he do it now at the NFL level?
And that stuff that Hopkins does, just does that.
He's so off the charts, smart, process so quick, he understands the system and the scheme, and it's just instant. It's a fantastic guy.
Do you feel like you guys can afford? Do you guys have now at this point, given where y'all at in the window? Is it important for you guys to get everything right this offseason in terms of who that starting five are going to be, or is there really not time for development anymore, and it's basically you've got to find guys who can plug and play immediately?
Well, I think it's all the above. You always have a sense of urgency in the NFL and everything you do. Whether some might say that's hyperinflated or some say it's right on point where it should be, whatever that is. Always a sense of urgency. There's always time to develop guys, and we always need guys who can come in and plug and play. That's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. It's like someone telling you, man, that job's hard. Yeah, it's hard. We know it's hard. Move past that and let's go attack it, So it's, all the above.
But obviously, sacks are inevitable. You hope to go through games with Joe Burrow not getting sacked. But for you specifically, with what you teach and what's most important to you and what you want in your room, what are the sacks that really are the ones that you have issues with, whether it be communication, technique? Like, what is the one, if you kind of had to pick one that, when you watch the tape, that one really, your guys know those are the ones that really tick you off?
That's like asking me what do I like best about my wife. I'll pick one thing. I hate all sacks, period. They all make me angry and upset, and I understand why they happen, but we don't want them. I'd love to be able to get 0 sacks the entire year. That's what I'm straining for and losing my mind all the time, every day about. That's not realistic, but that's what I'm going to be grinding on. Everyone's approach should be that way. You would hate to see silly ones from a ME, where we just bust a guy. You hate the ones where it's just a keeper and that guy just guessed right and fell into one. You hate those. You hate the ones where a guy trips over somebody, you hate those ones. You hate the ones where they had some exotic stunt or pressure and that was a hard pickup, twist off, 3-man or 4-man switch off. You hate those. You hate the ones where they just guessed right and brought one too many and we were short a guy, we're hot. I hate them all, but they all suck. And, you don't want your quarterback to get hit, period.
So did the overall number overwhelm you of sacks Joe Burrow took?
I'm not sure what you mean by overwhelm me.
Well, you just said that you hate them.
Yeah, I hate them.
There was 70.
Whether there was 1 or 70, I hate all of them, absolutely. I hate all the ones where he was flushed. I hate the ones we didn't get a sack, but he got hit. I hate them all. We're not going out there and saying it's acceptable. That's not acceptable. So,
is the idea of moving Jonah from left tackle crazy talk, or is it all options are on the table?
No, I don't think anything is crazy talk. I think you should always look to improve on whatever that discussions take you to think outside the box, do stuff like that. It's not at all.
Taking his name out of it specifically, what is the biggest challenge for a guy to do that? To either flip sides or move inside?
There are a couple different factors. If you flip sides, your power leg, your power hand changes. And then the natural ability for you to anchor and punch and press off, that obviously changes. So that takes time to get comfortable if you haven't been doing it. A lot of the backups are forced to do that, so it's more natural because they're constantly rotating and flipping. Where if you've always been on one side, it's more of a challenge. Going outside to inside is a challenge because it happens a lot faster. It's a lot more power inside. You need to be more stout and quicker. So the timing, the spatial and timing of the punch takes practice and time to be able to handle that. Those are kind of the real big things that jump out at me.
You think
How much
Jonathan?
time? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It varies. I mean, it's
Ideally, in your world, I mean, is it one off season a guy can get through that, or is it take?
well, you would hope it could be done in one off season. Yeah, that'd be ideal. I mean, a guy that comes to mind that's in the Hall of Fame is Bruce Matthews. He was a Pro Bowl at all three positions, literally center, guard, and tackle. He's in the Hall of Fame. That's hard to do. He was a rarity. You'd love for guys to do that, but that's not realistic. So some guys can't do it. Doesn't mean they're not a bad player. They just got to stay at that one position. Some guys can adapt and do that. So it just varies on the individual.
Do you think Jonah could play center?
Yeah, I think he's smart enough. I mean, speaking from experience, learning to snap and block's hard.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. I hated it as a young player and fought it, and then
They kept you in the league. If I kept you in the league.
well, no, I got out of the center business and stayed out in the other positions. But I probably should have stayed there. It might have helped me to stay longer. But it's hard. It's a unique skill set to be able to do that. But he's clearly got the processing skills and the knowledge and the awareness to be able to do that and run a group. It's just developing the physical aspects of that position, snapping and being able to step, all the variety of footworks that go along with that.
That would take
which
a
is
while.
hard.
Yeah, I would think that would take a while.
That's the hard, the timing aspect of it.
How do you guys as coaches split up the next couple of weeks in terms of you didn't have as much time because of the run to evaluate free agents with free agency starting in a couple weeks and then the draft just a couple weeks after that? How do you split your time and making sure you know everything you know about the free agent, but you're also not waiting until April?
Every second I spend with you, the less time I'm evaluating free agents. That's what I was doing in my room right now. So if you're a true Bengals fan, you'll.
So on that, we're done.
Can you show us?
I got my film here and I'm watching it as the other guys were watching. It's just one of those deals.
Do you ever show the guys your film?
I didn't have film. It's filming me riding the bench. Yeah, that's not going to do anything for him. It's going to be one of those.
Coach, you played
Don't
in
do as I do as I say.
Coach, you played in 92 games or something. There's got to be.
Say what now?
I said you played in 92 games, right?
Played's a loose term now. Yeah, I hung on. That's why I coach for a living.